Spider-Man,
I was gonna
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Were you really going to sing it?
I was.
Great minds think alike, except for when it comes to our ranking. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris. Welcome back to another video. Today, myself and my lovely lady friend Cam are going to be ranking all of the live-action Spider-Man movies. We both love Spider-Verse, but it didn't feel right to include it in this ranking. You have to really hit the like button and show support in this video if you want to see us rank it with Spider-Verse. Before we get into this video, make sure to comment your ranking down below, including No Way Home. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell, but we're going to go from least favorite to favorite. Coming in last place for me is The Amazing Spider-Man. No 2. The Amazing Spider-Man is my least favorite Spider-Man movie. Now, I'll preface this by saying I don't think there's a bad Spider-Man movie. I have positive reviews of every single one of them.
I'll preface it by saying I have really bad taste. Continue.
Okay, we'll see about this. We'll see about this. It's gonna get heated. First of all, compared to the other Andrew movie, it's more bland and less rewatchable. So that's an issue right there. We've already seen the origin story with Peter Parker done much better in the first Spider-Man movie. I love Andrew as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's arguably the best. So I'm not even mad about that. That's not the issue. It's the Lizard plotline and just a really dragged out first hour of the movie. Just kind of fall flat in my opinion, and nothing remarkable happens in the last hour of this movie. Like, I am not moved emotionally by the Lizard scene and like the fight with Gwen's dad. Like, all of that is all right. It just feels really bland compared to the other Spider-Man films.
Okay. In last place for me is SpiderMan 3.
Why are you laughing?
Because our lists are so different.
I know.
It's gonna be really funny.
Yeah.
It's one of my least favorites.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
And I like it less than the one that's gonna be right above it. Simple as that.
Next up for me is going to be The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh my god.
The TASM movies are at the bottom of my list. And I want to preface this by saying
You have
I
no
do not
taste.
I have taste. I don't think the Amazing Spider-Man movies are bad movies. I think they get the short end of the stick and they're overhated. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 further fleshes out Gwen and Peter's romance, and that's the best Spider-Man romance we'll ever see on screen is in TASM 2, I think. Electro as a villain, I don't mind. The issue with the film is when they introduce Green Goblin and it becomes convoluted, a la Spider-Man 3, where they're trying to do too much with too many villains. The movie's damn near 2.5 hours for no reason. Tries to set up the Sinister Six. We never got to see that come to light. The web slinging in this movie is fantastic. Everyone says it's the best in any Spider-Man movie, and I agree. It is a fun time. I'm not a fan of the opening scene and how they try and like talk about his parents too much, like it's a Spider-Man movie, but it is what it is. You know, it's poorly written, but it's fun. It's a fun time.
Alright, my next one is Far From Home.
Okay.
It's a fine movie. I rewatched it recently. I don't necessarily like it more, but I kind of have a little bit more of respect for it, I guess, because it is very different from any other Spider-Man movie, so it's kind of hard to compare it, you know what I mean? If I had all the movies laid out in front of me, it's not the one I'm reaching for.
My next movie is Far From Home as well. I don't hate this movie by any means. It is fun. It's different than any other Spidey movie. I think Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio is having a damn blast in the role, and he carries this movie, as well as the teachers. I think they're like MVPs of this movie. Not crazy about Brad's character and some of the stupid jokes that really just missed the mark in this film. Kind of weighs it down in a way, but I do like that we finally get to see the romance between MJ and Peter further develop. There's a lot of fun to be had. I like the final drone fight scene, and the post-credit scene might be the best post-credit scene in the MCU.
My next one is Spider-Man 1.
Okay.
It's a great movie, right? And when I do watch it, you know, it's enjoyable. Again, the way I'm doing my ranking is like, if I had all the Spider-Man movies laid out in front of me, what am I going for first? Spider-Man 1's just not one of them. I didn't grow up with Tobey, so I don't have that connection to him. So if you take away that connection to his movies, I feel like you're just left with the movies and they're
Next up for me is my first Tobey film, and that's going to be Spider-Man 3. It's a bad movie at times. The way they shoehorn in Venom and Bully Maguire has been fully memed. This movie is not only the most quotable Spider-Man movie, but it's the cheesiest. But I have a lot of nostalgia for it. It's hilarious too, just to make fun of how dumb this movie can get. I think the black suit's actually really cool looking, to be honest. If this movie would have focused on Flint Marko / Sandman as the main villain, it would have been 10 times better. Let's not forget, the Harry redemption arc is fire in this movie. Like, I enjoy seeing the intro of him and then he loses his memory, and then by the end of the movie, he ends up fighting with Peter. That's just such a cool collab. And his ultimate sacrifice is heartbreaking. So I think that relationship comes full circle very nicely. And the same goes for Sandman. He has a really great redemption arc. So there's a lot to love in this movie. Got a damn great score by Danny Elfman. And it's a very overhated movie, much like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I want to clarify again, none of the movies on this list are negative, in my opinion.
My next one is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay.
It's fun. It's a good movie. I really like Vulture. I love the plot twist in that movie. I like it better than Far From Home for sure.
I do too, and that's why my next movie is actually Spider-Man Homecoming. In a world without Thanos, Vulture's the best MCU villain. Book it. The scene where Peter opens the door and we see Vulture there as Liz's dad still shakes me to this day. It's such a tension-filled scene when they're riding through the car and Vulture's discovering he's Spider-Man. You must be Peter. I love that line. The movie doesn't have as much web slinging as I may like, and again, it's got some of the misses for MCU comedy, but it's still pretty funny overall. It's such a fun movie. I really, really like Homecoming.
My next movie is Spider-Man 2. The best of Tobey's trilogy for me. Great movie. That's honestly all I have to say about it.
No thoughts on Doc Ock?
That was implied in great movie. I like Doc Ock. I like him a lot. The reason why I don't have much to say about Tobey's trilogy is because I don't regularly watch them because I don't have a desire to.
My next is Spider-Man 2. We're getting close to the top, by the way. Spider-Man 2 is a movie that I've always thought is a hair overrated because people call it the best superhero movie of all time, and I disagree with that take, but it's still a fantastic superhero movie, especially a Spider-Man movie, as Tobey's Peter Parker really goes through in this movie. He loses his will to be Spider-Man at one point, and he's got the best scene in the movie when he's walking down the street and the raindrops keep falling on my head. That song's playing, and he just scarfs a hot dog down his throat. Like, why is it there? I don't know, but damn it, it's cinema. This movie's fun. Doc Ock is a damn good villain. It's a really strong building point for Tobey's Peter Parker as he has another life learning lesson. The scene with Aunt May, especially where she kind of convinces him to become Spider-Man again, even though she doesn't know he's Spider-Man. Chef's kiss.
Next for me, it's hard to pick. TASM 2.
Wow.
The reason being, it's hard for me to pick between the TASM movies because TASM 2 I think brings out much more emotion in me, but as you said earlier, the Green Goblin storyline is a lot. And I can kind of overlook it. Like when I think of TASM 2, like the last thing I think of is Green Goblin. I forget he's in that movie until I am watching the movie and then I'm like, oh yeah. But I think that tiny little plot is what has to put it at 3 for me.
This movie wrecked you.
Yeah, it's really bad. The entire ending sequence, since Gwen dies, spoiler, since Gwen dies and onwards, Gwen's death, Peter's face when she's dead, and then her speech, and then the boy at the end of the movie, non-stop tears.
So next for me is going to be Spider-Man 2002. Love this movie to death. It's my favorite movie from that year. I've made a video about it. Green Goblin as a villain is just remarkable. Honestly, Willem Dafoe is so menacing, but darkly comedic as well. And he's so quotable, especially when he's like, "You know how much I sacrificed?" His face just goes from smiley to just anger-filled so quickly. They capture every character perfectly. Like, I think it's well cast, but it's also kind of pitch perfect to what the comics are. It's cheesy, it's so much fun, and there's a lot of heart to it as well, especially when Uncle Ben dies and seeing Peter come full circle at the end with his swing. You just want to go run a mile at the end of this movie because it's so uplifting. It is classic Spider-Man, and it always will have a special place in my heart.
Next for me is TASM. I love this movie. I'm so opposite of you with how you think it's boring. I love this movie. I really like Dr. Connors as Lizard, and I like how, you know, they do the thing where the villain doesn't die, but he kind of, you know, goes back to being good at the end of the movie. And the whole setting up the romance with Peter and Gwen is some of my favorite ever. I saw this, someone say this, I don't know where, but it makes sense. I think girls tend to favor TASM movies as opposed to boys because in a way, like, I do hate to say this, but TASM movies kind of lean more towards the chick flick genre a little bit because they just do romance a bit more. So it makes sense, I think, if a girl is more likely to have TASM higher on their list. And I just love Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy is my girl. She's my everything. I could watch TASM for forever.
That leaves one Spider-Man movie.
I wonder
and
if it could be.
We're going to talk about it together because it's both for number one. Spider-Man No Way Home, the most anticipated movie in years, is finally here. We're going to give away some spoilers for this movie, so if you've not seen No Way Home, go watch it. But spoilers for No Way Home in 5, 4, 3, 2, I know. You'll see. Just kidding. That was iCarly. Here we go for some Spider-Man No Way Home spoilers. A movie that features all 3 Spider-Men on screen
with their villains
is hard to top with their villains, because I look at Spider-Man 2002, I look at TASM, I look at any of those movies, and I'm like, anything that's so great about those movies that I love, this movie has.
Yeah.
Including Tom's best movie and him finally turning into a man. He goes from Spider-Boy to Spider-Man. He goes through the ringer. He gets his ass beat. He loses Aunt May. He loses everyone by the end of the movie by his own decision. He erases everyone's memory of it. And it's just like, this man is finally matured, and it's captured perfectly while integrating the nostalgic elements so well. This is the pinnacle of Spider-Man on film. It will never be topped for Spider-Man, probably. I just don't see it happening. And it's an event that everyone must see in theaters.
I agree. Never thought that I would get to see Andrew in his spider suit again. And so when I got to, automatically I was like, oh, this is it, you know?
Yes.
And then Toby coming back. Tom was also very, very good in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
I don't mean to overshadow him. I actually am really glad that he shined so much, because I was worried when it was rumored that Toby and Andrew were going to be in it. I was like, oh, well, that kind of worries me that we just won't really even notice Tom in his own movie, but they still made it his movie. Peter won.
Goated Spider-Man movie. But that's going to do it for our ranking of every Spider-Man movie from our least favorite to our favorite. Definitely drop your ranking in the comments down below, because I'm interested to see where everything places. I think this is going to be the most unique ranking video you will find on YouTube.
Don't be mean to me,
because
please.
we have a vastly differing set of opinions. Be respectful in the comments.
Very sensitive.
Obviously, everyone has different preferences for these movies. They're all Spider-Man, and we all love them. So be respectful in the comments, please. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Follow Cam and subscribe to her. All of her social media is down below. That's pretty much going to do it, though, for our ranking. Again, drop yours in the comments. And until next time, see you guys later. You know how much I sacrifice!